Hello everyone, this is Leads of America, and today we are recording a 3v3 on Napoleon Total War. This is the grassy flatlands map, and this is actually the World War I battle from the machinima that you guys wanted to see. And so you can see here I'm playing with myself, Scott is in the center, and Magic Man is on the far right. All three of us are playing as Prussia. Our opponents are Cody and two of his friends. And the rules here were, so we were trying to do a little World War I thing. Instead of using the mob, we were like, let's see what we can do on the actual map. So we decided that the militia from Prussia and the militia from Russia looked most similar to a World War I soldier. So that's the forces we have here. All we have is militia and artillery for both sides. And then we brought some howitzers. So we actually didn't realize this until later. So we might end up doing another version of this, but we realized that if we brought experimental howitzers, we could use artillery that kind of looks like gas attacks. And so some people brought those, which ended up looking really cool, but I actually only brought some regular howitzers. But next time I'm definitely going to bring some of the experimentals. So over here you can see, I believe Scott might have brought one. Yep, he brought an experimental howitzer there. And Magic Man also brought 2 experimental howitzers. And if the opponents, since the Russians don't have regular howitzers, we allowed them to bring... They were supposed to bring 10-pounder unicorns, but some of them brought 20-pounders. See, these guys brought 10-pounders. Cody ended up bringing 20-pounders on accident. And then the objective of this game was take the trenches. And what we kind of made a bunch of sub-rules. So the rules were kind of, if you take the trenches, you hold it, you don't keep pushing on, unless you know, it's like, you know, the end of the enemy team, then you just go ahead and keep pushing, take them out. So here you can see the Russians got the trenches first on my side, but we got the trenches first on this side. Although we haven't really set up here because we'll take some pretty heavy volleys if we do that. Anyway, so you can see I'm pushing up and I am just getting absolutely slaughtered by artillery. And you'll see exactly why I wanted to make this machinima, because I mean it is so insanely cinematic. And you can see just from all of the units I have pushing up here. So now Cody's units in the trenches are opening fire on my men. At least on that side. They're about to pushing up here though. Now they're opening fire on me. The thing is, I'm taking a ton of damage in the back as well from stray shots. This side ends up being pretty heavily contested, and everywhere else is going to be quiet just for a little bit until my side kind of like pulls everyone else into the fight. You can see over here, I'm already charging. I was like, one volley and then let's go. Cody's going to countercharge incoming artillery. My artillery, I was actually advancing. He already got into a defensive position, so it took my artillery a second to actually get set up here. But now I have some fire going down on the Russians. Boom, we got a melee battle over here. During the machinima, I had the flags off. Now they're all on, so you can see units a lot better. Scott is now pushing on his opponent, trying to take out his opponent's trenches. And Magic Man has advanced enough to take his trenches, which are a bit difficult to work with because they have this one that goes on the side here. And I know I keep calling them trenches, that's just what we call them in this scenario. They're actually roads, but we just kind of, you know, role play a little bit, call them trenches. Let's see some pretty heavy artillery. The Russians have actually completely wrecked these guys over here, and they're going to keep charging. You guys get some final shots, but boom, they're in melee. And left just a pile of bodies behind them. Over here I charged in melee again. You can see though I have so many reserves that I'm kind of cool with that. My guys kept glitching out though. They kept walking. Like I was trying to run up here. Cody spawns in the back, almost the same distance as me. A little closer though. But my men were starting out walking. I was trying to get them to run. Over here looks like Scott actually charged a few units, trying to force the Russians back and get some reserves up. Some really accurate fire hitting those guys. Over here it's all quiet still. Oh wait, just heard a charge going on. These guys are charging for whatever reason. Scott is actually forcing these Russians back. They're falling back without actually routing. Scott's just going to keep going. On this side the Russians actually charged out of the trench. Oh man, that was a really good shot there. Actually charged out of the trench, and here I've actually made it into the enemy trench for the first time. So I'm storming it like a stormtrooper here. I'm talking about the World War I stormtroopers, not Star Wars. Yeah, we've got actually a full melee attack from the Russians right here. And I'm cool with shooting my own units in the back, because they've already taken volleys from these units that were in the trenches, so. Artillery's going off left and right. My men actually won this melee fight, so I've officially taken a position in the enemy trench. I've got a foothold now on the left side, and I'm opening fire on these guys. Or returning fire. Russians actually won here. I've won everywhere else, though. Scott actually seems to have gotten, yeah, he got into a melee fight there. So it's okay if you charge out of the trench. Kind of see how we're doing it. They're doing it as well. It's just that you can't charge out of the trench and then keep going. You can't like set up lines outside the trench and open fire, because the trench is the objective. If you lose it, then you're losing the game. So leaving the trench isn't the best idea, but for a melee assault, it's all right. And artillery fire just going off all over. Scott's going in for another melee charge. The mistake here is that the enemy is targeting Scott's artillery actually, and you can see everywhere else on the battlefield we have artillery targeting each other's infantry, because that's the key to winning here. If you like see if you killed say I killed off all of his infantry, then there's nothing to protect his artillery. So if I kill his infantry, then I can just keep pushing through. Man, though, you can see bodies are really starting to pile up here. Lots of artillery fire. My unit is still holding over here somehow. Pushed up this one to support a bit. And you can see I'm actually taking the enemy trench here. But Cody doesn't like that, so he's going to charge into melee. Try and force me back out. I'm bringing up reserves. Not very quickly. I need them up here, like, on the spot. This one's still holding and just being able to fire right now. Shooting some of Cody's infantry over here. Over here, Scott is in a full melee charge. Here you can see the gas explosives going out from the experimental howitzers. Over here, Magic Man is going in for a charge. 2 units up against 1. Russian artillery still going off. And the Russians have actually got a foothold over here inside of the Prussian trenches. It's actually looking pretty thin though for the Russian line over here. A lot of his reserves are pretty far back, so he's gonna need to move those guys up. He's actually getting shot on the flank here. You can see the Russians are actually flanking around, so he needs to get some guys in these trenches. Over here, Scott has a pretty large amount of artillery going off in the center. He's got it very concentrated. Russians are doing the same thing. They're just trying to sway the battle in their favor by massing artillery in the center. On my side, it's getting pretty dire. I've been completely forced out of the enemy trenches on all sides. And Cody actually can't seem to hold his trench. Either we're kind of fighting over it instead of in it. We're in another melee fight there. And I'm still being nailed by the artillery. Here Cody goes, he's charging right through my men, going for the next unit. All artillery landing right in the midst of their charge. More shells going off. Not very good shots there. I've got this is Scott's units from here. I've got really thin units though, I'm out of reserves. The rest of these units on the front are what I have left. Same with Cody. He's got 1 unit in reserve, and that's it. So here you can see I'm setting up in the trenches now. Oh, okay. I thought that was a unit. I was like, wow, that's gonna be a good hit. Shells going off left and right though. Oh, good hit there. Charging forward, he's got a really thin line here. I'm trying to hit his reserve unit because the rest of his are actually pretty thin. And my artillery's doing a really good job of breaking him down. On Scott's side, it's been a back and forth for the trenches. You can see there actually hasn't been a lot of units in it. It's mainly been fighting back and forth over the top of it. And on this side, the Russians are actually starting to kind of force us out a little bit. Over here, Magic Man shouldn't be doing this. He should be in the trench. That's the objective, hold the trench. More gas going off. Boom, knocking out a ton of them. Russian artillery trying to take out the Prussian troops. Prussians force the Russians out of this side. And actually, this point right here is extremely weak for the Russians, and all of their reserves are on that side. So if this breaks, we might have a victory. And I've actually been able to miraculously break the Russians on my side. Since he's pretty much losing, I'm overrunning him. I'm actually pushing out of the trench so I can take out his artillery in this last unit. So here comes my general staff. The Russian general staff is actually running parallel to mine, routing Russians in between all of them. Here I go, trying to take out these 20-pounder unicorns that have been, absolutely wrecking me all game. They did get some final canister, but only killed like 2 guys. So you can see I've got 4 units here. One more over here in melee with this general. I'm actually trying to set him up in the trench on the flank so I can help Scott rout his opponent. And once again, Magic Man pushing out his trench, getting mowed down. Lots of bodies from his charges. He's going to keep going, though. Just walking into battle. On this side, the Russians are actually going to pull back. I'm not sure why. The Prussians are taking extremely heavy losses as well. And they're actually pushing in on the Prussian trench over here, which doesn't have as much cover as on the other sides of the battlefield. It's actually pretty flat here. On my side, I'm actually taking out the Russian artillery pretty easily. The Russian general is a huge pain, though. He's charging into me left and right. Since these are militia, they can't form square, which is another reason why we didn't allow cav. They had cav during World War I, but we didn't allow it because they'd absolutely slaughter all of the artillery and infantry. So only generals were allowed. So over here, I still have this unit on the flank shooting at these Russian forces. Scott is actually forcing his opponent back at this point after some pretty brutal melee fighting and extremely heavy artillery bombardments. Magic Man's actually being forced out of his trench right now from overwhelming infantry fire and artillery. Oh, there is my general. He died fighting the Russian general. Brought him down to 4 men. He had 7, okay. And I still lost that? Wow, okay. I actually got an infantry unit in here to help finish up the last of the Russian artillery. These 3 guys over here, it's just like, yeah. What a brutal fight. Artillery, even though they got to sit here and shoot at my guys all game. Wow, man, there's just so many buys. You know, they still ended up getting attacked. So, I mean, it's pretty safe to be the artillery units, but once the enemy breaks through, then it kind of sucks. And you can see my units just kind of mass routed all over the place. And Cody's going to try and send his general to go get my artillery. And his artillery actually, 2 men actually routed my infantry. So over here, Scott's going to get back in his trench, and I'm actually going to set up in the trenches on the left here to flank the Russians. And they are in a I can't talk. They are in a complete retreat. And they are actually pushing up their artillery for whatever reason. This far left player is going to keep them right where they are in open fire, though. Getting some pretty close shots, those almost hitting his own men. And these troops aren't facing the enemy. He needs to reposition them right here so they can return fire, and that is what he's going to do. Oh, I got the Russian general here. Charged my cannon, took out one of them, and then my men ended up killing his general. And Scott sent his general to help save me, ended up killing the last 2 of his staff. So here, I was going to set up here, but then I saw the amount of Russians coming over to this flank, so I'm actually going to reposition to try and hold the left here. Wow, 3 shipments, that's crazy. That's what I spent all, like we have, okay, so since all these militia are insanely cheap, you can see just from the upgrades that we all had a ton of money left over to make our units a little better. So I mean, they still suck because they're militia, but the upgrades definitely help with the morale. All of our generals are pretty badass. More gas going off. Killing some of these guys, mustard gas. Killing off a bunch of the Russians. Lots of it going off here. You can see Magic Man seems to be worried about this flank. That's why he has so much artillery going off on this position. Oh man, enemies targeting his reserves though. Probably because they're getting so close to hitting their own men over here. And the Russians are actually taking the enemy, or taking our trench, this portion over here. And Scott, I'm not sure what he's targeting. Man, you can see he finally took position of his trench here after some pretty heavy losses. And this is what's left of my infantry force, just 2 units. The rest of it is my 3 cannons. My general has also been routed. And right now I'm facing 1 unit, but they're bringing over a second one. Oh, here come the Russians for a charge. I remember there's some pretty insane artillery here. Yeah. It's gonna get a little bloody. Gas going off. Artillery taking out the rear. And boom. Yep, and there's more shells going off. I'm not sure if that was Russian artillery or Prussian artillery. Either way, I'm pretty sure that got some friendly fire from whoever fired it. Russian artillery still targeting those reserves back there, but right now we are watching these Russians, and they are kicking the Prussians out of our trenches here. Only 1 unit of 50 still holding. Oh man, that close range artillery. Oh, and more gas going off. Routing units being killed, attacking units being killed. It's a bit brutal here. And they're still going to keep charging over to these reserves. We're still going to be firing point blank into these Russian lines. And the Prussians here are walking into the trench to reclaim it. And on this side, oh, don't shoot your own men. Oh no, it's pretty close. Alright, so that's a miss. He's landing artillery on his own men though. These 50 men end up holding, but we have another wave of Russians coming in. And this one's still charging. On my side, my opponent is not attacking me yet, or actually he is. We are in a line battle now. But his units are a lot healthier, and he still has his general, so my men aren't looking too good there. Scott and his opponent are just having an artillery fight right now. And the the Russians are charging the trenches once again against a single Prussian unit that's holding back. So this is the last Prussian unit on Magic Man's side that is still holding. And this is literally point blank. Like, they're gonna shoot each other. If you miss, you might as well be fired right now. Court-martialed. Oh man. Over here, Prussians are looking a bit disorganized. Looks like he's actually trying to send another unit to uphold this trench, but he has 3 very healthy Russian units on his flank. If I was him, I'd be... Oh man, his artillery's moving. He needs to reposition it and open fire on these 3 units. Maybe point them this way, get some canister on them. His units are trying to get in the trenches, but they're being forced back by the Russians. And they are actually in another melee fight over here. Scott is still just in a melee fight. They've actually opened fire on each other over here. And on my side, the Russians are coming in for a charge to break me. And the charge bonus could be the end of my unit here. So this unit actually hasn't been engaged. They're going to have to hold off against the general and this other infantry unit that are pushing up here. My unit actually breaks, so the Russians are taking over my trench, and I only have artillery to counter them right now. Which are all targeting the healthier Russian units, which are over there. So here I got off 1 volley against this general, and then I'm going to get charged. So boom, there goes all of my infantry. My army's pretty much done at this point. The Russians are completely overrunning our flank here, and the Prussians are extremely disorganized. Scott is still holding his side, but the artillery is really thinning him out, and he doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot of damage to the Russians. Maybe he's targeting over here, I'm not sure. Prussians are trying to come in and counter for this Russian push into the trenches here. He's actually getting shot on the flank, not even returning fire. Over here, the general's going for my artillery. I didn't get him pointed fast enough. I'm going to try, and I don't know if that one's going to be able to point either. Oh no, fire! Oh, they're so close. Yep, I'm going to lose most of my artillery here. And Scott is pretty much in a line battle with the Russians. This artillery's not doing so well, though. Oh, more gas going off. Gas doesn't have to be accurate to do a lot of damage there. You can see a whole chunk just got wiped out. They're going to push in, though, on the on Scott's portion of the trench here. Oh man, that was a good hit. Now this guy's gonna be taking fire. Russian artillery is opening up, targeting his general. That's not cool. Wow, that sucks. It's gonna have a dick move. World War I, that didn't happen whatsoever, especially since you didn't have generals just standing out on the battlefield. But even in Napoleon, it's kind of just a dick move to target the enemy general. Especially when he still has so much infantry and stuff, you should be trying to take them out. I mean, yeah, it does morale blow, but that general should be the last thing to go along with your artillery. Unless you can sneak around or something, but in this type of game mode we were doing, you couldn't really do that. Because, you know, we don't really have any cav, and the general wasn't really used like that during World War I. You didn't really just sneak around the enemy and take out their artillery. So over here we have a Russian suicide unit to take care of these Prussians. They're kind of a meat shield, just to distract them. Oh, they routed last minute. They ended up routing those Prussians as well, though. These guys are just gonna, like, you know, shove through each other and then run away. Just be a little rude and then run. The Russians actually got shot to death after they left that trench. Over here, Russian general's taking out 2 of my cannons at this point, and then he falls back. I'm gonna get canisters set up on my on my artillery. And Scott, he's got way too many enemies to deal with and not enough infantry, so he's actually being pretty heavily overrun here. Overwhelmed, I guess. Not overrun, not quite. Magic Man's not really being overrun yet either. He's just being overwhelmed. Too many enemy units facing against him, and his units are routing left and right. While the Russians are actually doing pretty well. Look at this, they've got 2 units against this really small one, and then after that sorry guys. And then after that one, routes they'll have 3 units against this fairly healthy landwehr. He's gonna run. It's a little late though. You should have let him sit there and shoot the Russian troops. Actually taking like 0 losses though. Look at that. 1 guy died. 2, 3. Okay, now they're losing a few. Nothing too harsh though. Russians are gonna chase him down with their artillery fire though. Still targeting the enemy units or the enemy artillery here, which is kind of a waste. And then my unit came back, and now they're being charged. And then my artillery over here is actually firing canister into that infantry right there. So we'll see how these guys can do. I was trying to put, like, I moved up all of my artillery once I took out Cody's force, and I'm just trying to use them to hold Scott's flank here. All right, boom, canister. Just trying to do as much damage as I can. Because Cody at this point, he's completely out of units. I've killed him off, and so all I've got left is this 1 can, so I'm like, let's try and do as much damage to help Scott out as I can. And boom, that's going to be the end of my last unit there. Oh, enemy artillery is doing some good damage to these Prussian artillery. And at this point, maybe it probably is the best choice, because the Russians, they still have quite a few reserves. They're about to clean out our pretty depleted infantry, and once that's done, they'll have a lot of canister to deal with. So at this point, it is a good idea to mop up these guys, at least before your infantry has to deal with them. So boom, there goes my last cannon. Scott's units are on the run, and the Russians are in a full advance. Artillery going off all over the battlefield. Russian units making their final stands here. Man, it is a bloody fight. There are just so many bodies. Prussians are over here trying to make the last stand defend their commander and their artillery. And their artillery is the last thing that's really doing any damage, because the militia don't do a whole lot on their own unless they're in a melee charge. Shooting wise, it takes forever for them to do anything. Scott actually has his artillery canistering this general over here. This unit seems to be to have been forgotten. I can't talk. I'm sorry. Man, the bodies next to this wagon look really cool. So Scott actually canistered this general, so he's dead. And he actually saved his unit by doing that. His unit came back. So Scott is actually coming back a little bit over here. Just routed that Russian unit, routed the enemy general, and one of his units came back. So he might be able to come back, kill this unit, and help out Magic Man. So right now, if you look at the map, it's actually turning out to be really close. The Russians kind of have us surrounded, not much over here. Scott just routed that other unit. I need to pronounce. So the Russians only have 1 unit on our left flank, and then this force on our right. So if they reformed and just got their infantry on each side of the artillery, we might actually have a good chance of surviving here. But so far, they're just going to be targeting gas at the Russian forces over here that are facing them and holding the line. Russian guys are going to open fire now. See what I mean, though? I mean, that first volley maybe killed like 10 to 15 guys. They don't do a lot of damage. Look at that. 3 guys fell right there. Still some really healthy Russian forces over here. They don't want to take this trench because their flank will be in the air, and this Russian unit's actually going to fall back and reform with the rest of their forces. Rest of the Russian artillery is moving this way to help just concentrate fire on our men. What our teammate should be doing is moving with the enemy infantry. He should be reforming in a line like this to counter this force. Instead, he's got these 3 units facing the wrong way, while these guys are also doing the same thing. They need to collapse on our Prussian ally here. That's what they need to do. He's being completely overrun though. I mean, his units, he's got 1 unit now facing 3, because the other 2 were so unhealthy. They were just. Oh, that's a good hit. Our artillery is really congested over here. This is probably because it's 2, 3, 4, 5. It's about 5 artillery in this position, so it's a combination of Scott and Magic Man's artillery. And the enemy Russian player who was on the Russian far left is actually just going to straight up run right past our infantry and try to take out those cannons. He's actually going to get charged by Magic Man's general, though. And this unit's just on the verge of breaking. They can't hold much longer. Oh, here they come. So there goes Magic Man's general. That's going to lead to a rout of this unit. And close artillery support is actually going to do the same thing to this unit, force them to pull back. Oh man, that was a good hit. That killed nobody. Okay, wow. That was a really good hit, but it didn't kill anybody. So we're not looking so good. We still have a lot of guys. It's just they're really depleted compared to the Russians. Oh, that's a close hit. So here come the Russians. They're charging their artillery. Artillery's trying to make their final stand here. Some infantry's trying to stand with them, but they are just being slaughtered, absolutely slaughtered. Oh, friendly fire landing right in the middle. People are flying more friendly fire. Russian artillery needs to chill. Scott's sending his general to help defend their artillery. We actually saw the few guns back here that might be able to hold. And this gun actually held as well. Russians are starting to get forced back. More artillery landing in close quarters here. Cannonmen just trying to defend themselves. General coming and helping them. That looked like a friendly stab there. I don't know what happened there. 3 guys teaming up to kill these Russian dudes. Russians are just going to keep going. They're pushing on to the next cannon. General's still trying to help them out though. And wow, just so many casualties after that. Still some infantry holding the front, but it's completely open now. And they actually force the Russians back, so the cannons are going to live to fight another day. And the Prussians are actually going to really charge, believe it or not, for one final hurrah. Russian artillery landing right over on that next unit there. That was actually a really good charge bonus, brought him down for like 150 to 134. So in melee is the only place for the militia units shine. Now on this side, Scott is actually trying to kind of get around his opponent here, but his opponent just has so many units, it's not going to work. One of the guns actually routed on this side. More Russian infantry coming in. Russian artillery is firing canister into these guys. See if they can get another canister volley off. Oh, they do. Boom, knocked down a few there. Knocked down some more. Oh, that's brutal. More. It looks like some more friendly fire coming in from behind. Oh, that was more friendly fire. Boom, they're in melee with that next unit. Over here, Russians are actually pretty cautious about charging into this unit again. These guys are actually going to target this unit, so that's a good idea. While that's going on, these guys are falling back. Canisters going off, almost killing, possibly killing one of our own men there. And Prussian infantry is just in a mass rout, making their last final stands against these Russian forces. Meat shield's coming in to distract these guys. Scott's going to realize that and pull back. Canisters just firing off left and right to hold the line. I'm not sure whose artillery this is, but they're trying to form up again. Oh man, that whole center line just got wrecked by canister. This unit's gonna go down from Russian infantry. These guys are gonna reload. They're trying to target this unit here. Oh, canistering these guys in the back during their charge. Another Russian unit coming in, so even if this one breaks, they have another coming in. Prussian units pulled back here, and they might be able to rout this unit. Prussian infantry trying to protect this cannon back here. And now it's mainly just the cannons holding the front line. Man, I can't believe how long they're even holding. It's a bit insane. This one's gonna rout. Oh, that guy, someone's got shot in the flank here. This guy's gonna rout pretty soon here. This last unit's facing a bunch of enemy Russian cannons that have decided to charge forward. Canister is their only hope if they can get it off here. Ooh, they are. Canister. Oh, a few guys went down. Nope, that's the last one. So one canister shot took off a few guys there. And that cannon's going to go down by the Russian artillery, believe it or not. Charging in. Getting shot in the back, though, by their line infantry. A bit of friendly fire going on here. Nothing too bad. They've already taken the field, you can see here. Just 2 infantry, or actually just 1 artillery, 1 infantry, and another artillery back here. And the Russian artillery was actually routed. That's unbelievable. Another Russian infantry and general coming over here to help clean up this last Prussian artillery. And I know you guys might get confused. Prussian, Russian, I know, so close. But oh well. Prussians are the ones wearing the cool uniforms. The Russians are the ones looking kind of lame. Just kidding. They have cool uniforms as well. They just look a little like raggy, I guess. The blue looks a little better than the green. So now the Russian general and infantry are running through the last Prussian forces here. And the Russians are swarming in with their final forces. Clean up their guys. Man, we're doing a lot of damage to this general. I'm actually killing here. It's taking... No, we just mass routed. So boom, that's the end of the battle. That was the battle from the machinima you guys saw. Extremely epic battle, and the machinima really, I think it really showed that. So you can see here, everyone deploying the exact same amount because the rules were the same for everybody. I actually took more losses than kills. Scott doing extremely well, doing a ton of damage. Magic Man really not pulling his own weight there. Not killing enough. Not quite anyway. Cody ended up doing a little better than me, just over like 80 kills or so. Their middle player not doing so well. He did pretty rough, kind of like Magic Man. And their teammate Sir Arthur actually doing pretty well, doing the best out of their team. Scott doing the best out of both teams. My best unit was some landwear with 267 kills. So there you go, guys. I hope you liked the battle. I'm glad I got to make a machinima out of it. I think it was a really good battle to make a machinima from. Anyway, if you guys want more, or if you want, more battles like these, World War I type style battles, just let me know. Maybe a map suggestion to do them on. Anyway, guys, I'll see you next one, and bye.